Jeff Gordon now, he has a different title. He is vice chairman of Hendrick Motorsports, and he talks about what this historic win means for the organization.
Martinsville is special to Hendrick Motorsports in so many ways. You know, when these guys start preparing, the crew chiefs, engineers, and drivers prepare, they're coming in here with their mindset of, we've got to win. This is Martinsville, and Hendrick Motorsports is supposed to run good and, have a shot at a win. So, I'm just blown away at how well prepared they came in here, how great the cars were. It took a lot of hard work to get it to that. And then on that last restart, see all three of those guys have to battle hard to stay 1, 2, 3.
Kyle Petty, when you pulled on the grounds at Martinsville, could you imagine anybody else but a Hendrick Motorsports car winning?
Not yesterday. So many things. And that just seems the way it works in NASCAR. When it's time, the planets align just in time for an eclipse. Thought I'd throw that in today. So they align because you've got 40th anniversary of, everybody knows the story. We're going out of business. They go to Martinsville. Jeff Bodine wins the race. They have almost 1,500 employees up there yesterday. They bring everybody they know to watch this race. And it comes down to, I expected a Hendrick car to run up front, to run first, second, and third. That's Babe Ruth standing at the plate and pointing at the fence. You know what I mean? And then performing.
To me, this is kind of storybook like when your dad won his 200th race
Same thing.
at Daytona, and Ronald Reagan was there.
Yeah. Listen, there's so many times in this sport, and you mentioned that. It is. Those are those feel-good moments. Dale Jr. going back to Daytona after his dad. Those are those feel-good moments. For some reason, it just everything aligns at that time. But it was that type of day yesterday from the time you rolled in there. You felt like it was a Hendrick day.
And, of course, it was William Byron who scored the historic win for Hendrick Motorsports, and he said it's not easy to do.
I think the more times that you win races, the more you realize how difficult it is and how many things have to go right. And just to stay on that edge to have what it takes to win is difficult. So I've been working super hard. I think we've learned and refined some things as we get through stretches where we have some difficult runs, but there's less doubt in our team that we can do it.
Alexis, you and I were texting during the tail end of the race, and you said, looks like William Byron is now the number one sled dog at Hendrick. Is there any argument to that?
I don't think so.
I don't think they
Certainly
actually
not.
called him a sled dog.
Well, in that clip, William Byron talks about how difficult this is or has been, but he certainly makes it look easy. So that should scare the rest of the field out there. I mean, and certainly make his teammates stand up a little bit, because he is currently, there was a time, I know, because we talked about it on this show time and time again. Where is William Byron? When is he going to, step up to the plate and live up to the legacy that everybody believes that he should be, or the hype that he had coming into the sport? Well, guess what? He's doing it. He's doing it right now in a big way. And so, yes, I believe he is the number one driver at Hendrick Motorsports right now.
William Byron led 88 laps en route to his third win of the year. Teammate Kyle Larson finished second.
I was surprised, honestly, how physical it looked up in front of me. I was very shocked, and selfishly was hoping they were going to wash up the track some more and let me get into the battle a little bit. But I think we all understood, what this day meant to the company, and we were going to race hard, but fairly, and that's kind of what we saw.
Brad, following a very rare caution at Martinsville, we had a 2-lap dash to the money, but it was almost foreshadowed that Hendrick was going to win no matter what. They had the top three cars in the mix.
Yeah, they did. And look, to Kyle Larson's point, Chase Elliott was not giving any room to his teammate William Byron. He was out there trying to win the race as well, but he wasn't going to do anything wrecking-wise or anything like that. But it was pretty interesting. They did prove, by the way, that you can actually have a clean restart on a green-white checker finish at a short track in Virginia. But I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good race, and it did provide that extra excitement at the end. Let's just say that part of it. And for Hendrick, they led 238 of what became 415 laps. What a day for them, for both Kyle Larson, who won the pole, William Byron, who won the race, Chase Elliott, who actually had a shot at a checkered flag for the first time in a while as well.
We're going to get into a discussion a little bit later on about William Byron. Has he now moved into the favorite spot? Before we do all that, there was a non-Hendrick car in the race, believe it or not. Bubba Wallace came home fourth.
When you have a fast car, there's little things that may feel different that you have to adjust to or tweak and to find out. And once you do that, you'll be in victory lane.
And so Bubba Wallace with a nice fourth-place finish there, one of his better runs as of late. They got off to a sizzling start and cooled down just a little bit. Guys, I want to get your honest opinion here. I watched the race. I consumed it like a lot of people did on Fox television. It was a 3-hour tribute to Hendrick Motorsports. Is that okay? I'm asking that rhetorically. I don't know. I felt like there were times it was like, there's too much here. If I'm not a Hendrick fan, this is in my face.
I think that's the point. I think if you're a Hendrick Motorsports fan, then you loved yesterday what you saw. I think if even if you're indifferent about Hendrick Motorsports, it seemed like to me, I mean, I'd like to know what Kyle and Brad think, but it seemed a little thick at times.
So I just think we have a tendency to do that in the sport. From the media side and from the TV side very often. How many times did we roll into Phoenix and all we wanted to talk about was Kevin Harvick and the Kevin Harvick story when he was on that streak? When we'd roll into Dover, it was Jimmy Johnson. Let's talk about this guy. You know what I mean? We have a tendency to go to that low-hanging fruit and that easy. Hendrick Motorsports, okay, has won 5 out of the last 8 races there. They've won 305 races total. That's 29 races is what they've won at Martinsville. That's almost 10% of their total wins have come at this one little racetrack. We all know the tragedy that they've gone through. We all know the rags to riches stories from that first. So there's so many storylines that lead you back there. It just seemed like everybody went to the low-hanging fruit yesterday, and that's all we're going to talk about.
Well, I think, too, sometimes, that's what happens when there aren't a whole lot of other storylines presenting themselves. You go with what's there, what's in front of you. I mean, the fact that
we did have, wait a minute. We did have, like, on lap 46, we had one car pass another car.
Well,
so we could have talked about that.
But that takes about 30 seconds, and then you're back talking about the 1,500 Hendrick Motorsports employees in Turn 3. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of factors that went into what we saw yesterday.
It was, Kyle, and you used a phrase that I love. It was the low-hanging fruit. It was the easy story.
The easy story.
And I'm not going to say if PRN hadn't been doing the radio broadcast that everything would have pointed right back at HMS because, to Lexus's point, for lack of any red meat stories, that's a pretty good feel-good.
It was that kind of day yesterday that and it was, you're right. It was that feel-good thing. If Bubba Wallace had been contending for the win, everyone would have talked about how Bubba's getting ready to spoil Hendrick Motorsports Day. Not that Bubba's going to win a race. Not that Bubba and 2311 is doing. We're gonna bring the Hendrick story into it. That's just the way it was.
Brad, get your thoughts on that.
It's fun. I listened to the race at Martinsville. I took it in, actually listened to it, out doing yard work, was ready to run in and watch if something big happened on the racetrack, and I don't know that I did that. So I can't speak to the television coverage other than in doing post-race coverage and talking to people who watched the race who were calling in. There were a lot of people saying this was way too much of a Hendrick love fest for me. So that's what I got out of the broadcast. But I thought on the radio side of it, they just did a good job of simply calling the cars. And it wasn't Hendrick-centric other than the fact that they went out there and they led the most laps of the race.
But to Hendrick's credit, when you dominate the race like they did with their 3 drivers, with the exception of Joey Logano and Hamlin having a little bit of time at the front, you get all the benefits. I mean, that's what, and I've told this on here before, that's what Benny Parsons used to tell drivers, said, how can I get you to talk about me? And he would go, be the ball.
Yeah.
And they'd look at him and he goes, lead some laps, get up front, and we'll talk about you.
Yeah. No, you're 100%. And we did talk about, you heard them talk about Joey Logano with that 2-tire stop, with that call and leading that next segment. They did talk about Denny and a couple other guys. But honestly, I mean, it was Larson on the pole, so we talk about him from the very, very beginning, or they do. And then at the end, it's all that 24 and Lord Byron's back up front.
Lord Byron.
Lord Byron. I'm going to call him Lord Byron.
Like that.
I'm going to call him Lord Byron forever. I'm sorry. That's just what I refer to him
I
as.
really like that. That's so much better than Willie B.
Yeah, Willie B.
I like Willie B better.
Yeah, I go the intellectual way. We're going to the Lord Byron part. You know me, an intellectual.
Well, you are
an intellectual at
You
heart.
are a Renaissance man, Kyle Petty. So it only behooves you to go with Lord Byron.